The Springboks have moved to the top of the Rugby Championships with a hard-fought win over Argentina at Loftus. But with next year's World Cup fast approaching, the team is still scoring badly when it comes to transformation. Who and what is to blame? This is Checkpoint, and I'm Nkepile Mabuse. It was 19 years ago that the Springboks first lifted the William Webb Ellis Cup here in Johannesburg, a feat they repeated in Paris in 2007. In 1995, the only player of colour on the pitch was Chester Williams. In 2007, they had two. 7 years on, the Boks still struggle to field more than 3 black players at a time. All fingers point to rugby development. Checkpoint correspondent Thanduxolo Jiga went to rugby-mad Eastern Cape to find out more.
The unifying moments of the 1995 Rugby World Cup final are a warm but very distant memory. Even though the only player of colour in the Springbok squad was Chester Williams, promise of change hung in the air. Movies have since been made of the politics that led up to that final at Ellis Park 19 years ago.
I reckon you're up. What am I supposed to do? What you do best. Let rip. Who here knows the rules of rugby?
Me.
What is it?
You hit another player when the ref is not shooting.
No. The first rule of rugby is you can only pass the ball backwards or sideways. All right? Can we practice that?
Yeah.
All right. Form a line. Let's go, boys. 3.
Rugby was to be a catalyst for reconciliation and transformation, following bitter years of isolation and apartheid in sport. But if Invictus 2 were to be made, the score might be a little different. White Springboks since 1995, 182. Players of colour, 56.
I do think it's quite shocking. You know, we're going to go to the World Cup next year. If we're lucky, we'll have 2 South Africans in the team.
Rugby writer Liz McGregor thinks part of the problem lies in what's happening at schools.
41% of Springboks produced since 1992 come from a total of 40 schools. And all those schools are former Model C schools or private schools. And demographically, they're in white areas.
Here in Zwide, in Port Elizabeth, rugby is what gets this young man out of bed in the mornings. Loiso High School rugby captain Phil Hoy is obsessed with the sport. He's an orphan who lives with his aunt.
Ufili indlela ayiqalise ngayo ibhola ude ayibukele nase-TV nasebaleni andifuni angayi kayinto yoba nalapha endlini ndithi noba bendizamthuma into ndiqomba into yoba mandiye ningabi samthuma othetha ngebhola ngoba laa bhola mntasekhaya indonwabisa nam ngaphakathi. Ithemba lami ngaske aphumelele afane nabanye abantwana. Amaphupha wam ingaske le nto ndiyicingayo ngaye ibe njalo, ingaske aphumelele nezinto endizibawelayo ngenye imini ndenzelwe nguye ukuba ndisaphila.
Ithemba lami lithi ndaphumelela if ndinobambelele erabhini.
His coach, Bantwini Matika, says Phil's talent needs nurturing.
He has the potential to be a Springbok. All other things being equal, of course. We need to ensure that he get all the necessary support around him to ensure that he goes very, very well. He's grounded.
But with limited resources and support, Phil can only try his best.
Huge challenges, normal challenges, lack of infrastructure, technical support is not available in terms of the scrummaging machines. The gyms conditioning is a huge problem. Nutrition is a bad issue because levels of poverty are very high. Unemployment levels in the township in these schools, because this school is a no-fee school, therefore the kids are from very poor families. So nutrition, conditioning are those key issues for me.
There are plenty of rugby-mad majority black schools in the Eastern Cape that need backing.
Why are we not looking at these places which could become real Springbok factories? And you've got several schools in that area. Yeah, you've got Queen's College also, which is also 95% black. And the same thing, incredible talent, incredible passion.
A player with passion was the late Soli Kibilika. He was the first black professional player to score a test try on debut. He too attended Loiso High School in Port Elizabeth. Killed in a pub brawl in 2011. At his funeral, Sports Minister Fikile Mbalula promised to make rugby live on in the Eastern Cape.
After the break, Sports Minister Fikile Mbalula says rugby development is elusive, but it's there. What exactly does he mean? Rugby, it seems, is an elitist sport, and in South Africa, that means white. But there are plenty of passionate black players in places like the Eastern Cape, and they're crying out for opportunities.
Without support at school level, it's going to be a struggle for Loiso High to find talent like old boy Soli Kibilika. There's none of the specialist care found at prominent schools like Bishops in Cape Town, for example.
Bishops has the same facilities virtually as the Springboks. They have every possible help and specialist coaches and fantastic nutrition and huge amount of parental and school support.
But Sports Minister Fikile Mbalula insists the support is there. He blames the media for not finding it.
I want to go there and take you people of the media to show you the work that I'm doing on the ground when it comes to school sport. Because at the present moment it's like it's elusive. It's something that is there, it's untouchable.
It's not elusive only to the press. Coach Bantwini says his experience of government support is in words only. He is a former rugby captain at Loiso High School and former head coach and sports manager at Fort Hare University.
Black children in the township are not given any opportunity. This is the home of African rugby, Port Elizabeth. It's the home of African rugby, but the situation is like this. We can't anymore accept this. Something has got to be done.
Bantwini is completely fed up with SA Rugby.
South African Rugby is a very, very racist organization managed by black people. It's a classical case of institutional racism. Black people are in charge, but the systems don't accept black people.
You just don't get kids being properly trained, and they not being given a chance to show their talent and to develop.
When pressed on the issue, the minister blamed his predecessors and municipalities, whom he said diverted funds meant for sports development. He insists that if he controlled the budget for school sports, change would be visible.
I need to get a full commitment, resource-wise, from my counterparts in terms of the Department of Finance, on the project planning going forward. In terms of infrastructure, I need full commitment from basic education. We want facilities, we want the field there. I have to go and beg some municipality They don't deliver these guys. Some of them, they ask me to go and deliver facilities to their municipalities. They don't have budget.
And I think there's some sort of conflict between them as to who's responsible. But, you know, they really need to get their act together, because this is where the groundswell of sports stars is going to come from. And until you give every single kid in South Africa a sporting chance of becoming a Springbok, it's just not going to happen. You're not going to get black kids coming through.
Nearly 20 years after Nelson Mandela donned Captain Francois Pienaar's number 6 jersey, the stats paint a bleak picture. Of the 18 players currently contracted to the Springboks, only 3 are not white. Dale College is one of the few Eastern Cape schools that has managed to beat the odds. It's a former Model C school in King Williamstown, near Bishop.
At Dale, they've got one full-time coach, and a big problem there also is a socio-economic thing, because I went to talk to Grant Griffiths, who's the one full-time coach there, and he said, look, a lot of their boys eat starch 3 times a day. So in that critical adolescent phase, it's a protein to build up muscle. They're just not getting it.
It's the alma mater of talent like former Bok, Gcobani Bobo, Bandi Simaku, who plays for the Bulls, and Sharks captain, Teram Tim. Dale College coach Grant Griffiths says building talent takes commitment and innovation.
We scout mainly the areas surrounding King Williamstown, sort of, you know, there's a hell of a lot of schools out there. And we've got a development program we work on, supported by the old boys and the governing body and the school itself. The old boys try to do the funding as the school can't afford it. We try to get them into the hostel setup, you know, from a sort of grade 8 age, sometimes earlier, and, you know, get them the proper nutritional substance, gym, coaching.
This year, one player stands out.
His name's Siamtando Mgubo. He's been with us since grade 6, I think it is. He came from Chalumna originally. He's covered fly-half, centre, fullback. For the first team, he was a utility back. He's in grade 11 at the moment.
Sia attended Craven Week 2014, the highlight of the school rugby calendar. For the past 40 years, a schoolboy team has been selected annually here. It's a place where future Bok talent is spotted.
I do want to play for professional one day, and obviously like make it big and laugh, and to play for the Boks one day and achieve more.
Sia had high hopes, but didn't make the Craven Week squad. Not surprising, considering the odds. Since 1994, no more than 7 black players have been selected each year to be part of the 26-man squad. Some blame the South African Rugby Union, which declined to grant Checkpoint an interview. So, we cornered development manager Mervyn Green at the Craven Week. Green appears under no pressure to address the situation.
We don't really have a problem in selecting black players just because we want to make up the numbers. There is talent in abundance. I think we are so blessed in this country with a proper school system which produces the top talent for us year after year.
But simply not enough black talent.
Touch. Engage.
Loiso High School coach Bantwini says provincial unions should also shoulder some blame.
The problem is with the presidents of the provincial unions. I think they are a disgrace to the growth of rugby. It's a pity that we didn't have right people in right places in those unions. We chose wrong people because we liked them. In the case of our case in the Eastern Cape, we have our own president, Chiki. He's no different than other presidents. It's a huge problem. They are not doing what they're supposed to be doing.
In the 70s and 80s, Chiki Watson was ostracized for breaking ranks and playing rugby with blacks in the townships. Now, as president of the Eastern Province Rugby Union and co-owner of the Southern Kings franchise, he's finding negotiating the politics of rugby as difficult as it was at the height of apartheid.
So we embarked on the journey to ensure that the playing fields are equal, to ensure that we have a non-racial teams through all sectors of our competition. Are we satisfied? Not at all. Are we a far way off? Very far way off.
So why doesn't he make the Southern Kings a shining example? The Kings had only 7 players of colour during Super Rugby. That's out of a squad of 35.
But I think Southern Kings has just got to get its act together. They've got to stop buying in white players. I mean, their argument is they've got to win, and these guys are the ones who now immediately have the confidence and the training, but that's got to stop very, very soon, I think.
There are plenty of black players in the Southern Kings development squads, but that's as far as they go, says Zolayeye, who once managed the Springboks.
They overstay their visit at these academies. It becomes a nursery and a window dressing exercise that we have these boys and they stay there until they're old, some of them, or they have a major injury and say that, that boy would have made it if it was not for his injury.
Yeye once played with Cheeky Watson in the Townships. Watson admits old attitudes are hard to shake off.
When a white kid fails, he gets given another 2, 3, 4, 5 chances. We just have to have a look around us in the teams that play. And when a black kid fails, no, he's not up to scratch, put him aside.
Watson also blames the pressure of prestigious competitions like Super Rugby.
In hindsight, you're always a lot wiser in hindsight. We should never have tackled Super Rugby. We should never have taken that journey because it put a tremendous amount of pressure on us. And it disadvantaged us in our preparation process. So we had to put everything on hold just to focus on Super Rugby.
Perhaps it's time to put everything on hold to develop rugby in the Eastern Cape, so that coaches like Bantwini don't give up the fight.
Because we're fighters, because we're South African people, we're going back to basics now, but we are not going to wait for resources to come because we don't see them coming. But we are busy now talking to private sector to support the call of the minister to ensure that his call and wishes are realized. If we give them the proper environment for them to play, I'm sure we can produce another Springbok.
Despite the obvious hurdles, Phil's dreams remain intact.
Ndibawela nami uzibona ndinxibe iikhala zeSpringbok. Abantu abamnyama noko nabo babonakale kwiqela.
Uzalo izouza! Uzalo izouza! Uzalo izouza! Faka spoon!
After the break, we speak to former rugby player Gobane Bobo. His Springbok ambitions were thwarted by injury in 2003. But he says getting there was a long, hard slog with development written on his forehead. Former rugby player Gobane Bobo spoke to Checkpoint's Thanduxolo Jega.
How did it all start, from there?
It was easy for a young man in the Eastern Cape, born there, knowing that my uncles played rugby and now I was playing for this rugby school, and they used to stand and hang around the fences, and now for the first time they could actually get to see one of theirs playing on that field. So that was part of the whole, I could say, inspiration behind it.
I would assume that back in those days it was predominantly a white school.
But it was one of those things, if you were good enough, it didn't matter what color you were. It didn't matter where you're from, who was your dad. So you earned your right and you earned your stripes, and it was a good thing because everyone felt that they deservedly been there. So, which was a chance for me, which when I got in '95 playing first team for Dell College, got into a position where I captained a border under 17 side, went to under 17 tournament, Got picked as a captain for the SA 17 that toured France. So I came back to the school. I was much more confident in my second year. Went to the Craven Week, played ACES school, shared a room with John Smith, played with the guys that now they're still playing. So I had that, what can I say, that validation within myself as a professional, or as a rugby player. I didn't really need any someone else to tap me on my back and tell me I was good. I knew that what I could do and what I was capable of. So that was part of the growth.
Then what happened when you turned pro?
I guess when after school rugby structures are kind of different. Sorry came with the new, I could say, protocol of quota systems. So all of a sudden, from captaining schools teams and playing first team and playing Craven Weeks and all of that, so we became development players, which was quite interesting because I felt that development players was anyone who was young and coming up in the system. I thought everyone else was a development player because I didn't see the other guys as not development players, because we were all trying to strive to be professional rugby player as rugby became professional. I mean, as a player, there's no player who likes to sit on the bench. There's no player who likes not to being on the team, and you just want things to be more transparent. Yes, I did feel sometimes, in fact, where you've been sitting on the bench and then the next week changes are made in the side and a guy from outside the squad comes in and starts in front of you, and you sort of sit there and you sort of think to yourself, so what am I here to do? You know what I mean? I mean, those it's not a thumb suck. It's something that happens, something that did happen, and I didn't bother myself about it. My whole mindset was that, you know, the easiest thing is to be negative and sit around and mope and run around and tell people that you're being ill-treated. But I looked within myself and said, okay, how do I get my skill set to the best I can be so that by the time I get a chance, there's no two ways about it. So I looked within, because, I mean, from those walks of taking those walks in the slanted rain in Cape Town, for me now to complain when I'm just about to crack on where I want to be, I mean, then all of that will be duffed. So I know what I wanted to achieve, and I was patient and willing to work hard for it.
That's all from us this week. Please do give us your feedback. Our Twitter handle is @checkpoint_ENCA. Thanks for watching. I'm Ngepile Mabuse.